Good evening and welcome to the connected edition of the 6th Agora, the international marketplace of the 13th Animasyros Festival, the International Festival of Animation. We're very happy. We are here, second day of the Agora, and today our session topic is Creative Testimonies, Production Stories from Greece and France. So I'm very happy for all of you that you are here physically with us, and please stay tuned. Yannis Lollis, the moderator of Agora, will introduce our guest, and the floor and the camera is yours, Yannis.
Thank you, Marinetta. Thanks for coming back for another session of the Agora presentations. As we have always done, after every presentation there'll be a 10-minute Q&A session. There's an opportunity to share questions while we are here in the room and online at the chat on our live YouTube channel. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back with you. Welcome back to this first presentation of the second day of the Animasyros 13 Agora. With us, we're really happy to have George Kontos. He's a director and an animator. He studied architecture in Thessaloniki, and he did his postgraduate work on fine arts at Cal Arts in LA. He has worked as a freelance filmmaker and a video artist. His most recent work is the short animated film Sevarampes, which was co-produced by ERT and Marni Films. We are proud that this project was presented in the Animasyros Agora 2 years ago, and this year it's starting its festival life. Please welcome George.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm really happy to be here at the Animasyros Festival and here with you today to discuss, to share some of my ideas, some of our ideas behind the film. We are 4 people, a crew who made this film possible. So starting from the context it's a city. The name of the film is about the city, Sevarampes. And it's my first animation. Previously I've done only live action mostly, and video art for gallery spaces, and a documentary which was my recent work. And I I dared to get into the animation world, which is quite intense to work. There was an open call in Greece from the microfilm program, and in 2016, when I was in Thessaloniki showing my documentary, I wrote a short script for this animation film, envisioning this utopian city called Sevarambes, and taken from a previous project. I'm showing you this because it has a reference to what the next step is by making the animation. So those were sculptures for an art project. I was envisioning these postmodern architecture. So I wrote the script, putting together a fictional character that he is resisting and eventually escapes from an authoritarian state. And I made these. I started working on the storyboards, loose storyboards of telling the story, in order to send an initial material to producers, so I can start working on the film. Those were made with just traditional media, and they're not at all they don't show the shot planning for the film. It was just like my way to get involved with the story. The film has no dialogue, and it's all about this character that he plays music in a city that is ruled by giant hands, and he gets arrested because of that, and then eventually he figures out a way to escape. Later on, I talked to my friend that lives in Mexico City, an artist, Theo Michael, that we're friends from a long time now, and we share similar interests in the science fiction genre and similar aesthetics for art. So I thought that would be the best choice for me to start working on an animation. Both of us, me being an architect and being in the arts, and him being in the fine arts, didn't have much background in animation, so we said, let's give it a try. I sent these storyboards to Marni Films. It's a production company based in Athens, Greece, and they really liked the material, and we started a long collaboration since then. Those storyboards, just to explain a little bit what's going on, this is the main character, and he's in his dream. He sees himself in a human, with human flesh, like in a human appearance. These are storyboards that show later on in the movie. It's a shot planning of how he escapes. This is like a show showing his arrest. And those are very early storyboards. Those are in the summer of 2017, where I set up a studio in Greece, in Athens, and started working on drafting tables, deciding that we are going to do everything on paper because we wanted to have that approach from the beginning. And even though we were tempted to go into 3D and figure out the components of the movie, so we stayed there and because of Theo's technique, he has this technique with graphite that he just spreads graphite on a piece of paper, and then he starts sculpting the characters with the erasers and almost bringing light into the background. So he started working immediately with the initial character, the protagonist, named Air, and here we can see him being like in a state of the dream in the background, like a human, and then in here too. So he's walking in the dream space, and then this is his uniform when he wakes up in the real city, in the city of Sevarambes, where he's a worker. All the people in the city are these laborers, and they have to work under the rule of the giant hands. We decided not to use any high-tech, sci-fi techwear, so we tried to keep it simple. Theo's approach was to make the character with reminiscent from like the proportions of the Cycladic figurines of Greece. So he had these like strange proportions for the main character. These are some expressions. And then we started working on like the final poses, like on paper. Those were all done with graphite, and then I would scan the drawings and assemble the characters in Photoshop, then just paint over and eventually do a puppet. So those were the proportions, the ones that I was telling about the main character, and these are like some of the poses. Theo has a very interesting sense of humor. He adds other components in the drawing that are outside of the film. So sometimes you might see other elements that they don't belong in the film, but it's the way he works, and I really like that. It's very inspiring to see all of his drawings in those, let's say, model sheets, these character sheets that were initially done. This is, for example, the Muse character that she appears in Air's dream. And this is like an A3 size paper, graphite drawing. Then the scanned version was cleaned up, making sure the integrity of the line is kept. We wanted to make sure that all the texture of the drawings of the graphite are intact. So that was a little bit. I went back and forth many times just to make sure that this is kept. So this is painted in Photoshop and then rigged and animated in After Effects. The city has these, as I mentioned before, these giant hands. It's ruled by these giant mechanical hands that have these long wires that you never see where they come from, but they're suspended from the sky. And they move all the buildings, they reassemble the city in an amok kind of way without any sort of plan. And the little people are working under that rule. These are other drawings. I'm going to go a little bit fast because there's other slides that I want to show. Those are the other characters that appear in the film later on. So building the world was my main focus from the beginning. Before I started building the world, and that was the first pre-production stage, I came to Syros for the Animasyros festival in 2017. And it was a great opportunity for me to meet a lot of amazing artists and animators, people from the industry, from the animation industry. And I got a lot of inspiration of how to continue. Since I was a little bit hesitant to get into the production stage. I didn't know if I needed to use a lot of, to get professional animators. Everyone told me, just do it yourself. It's a personal movie, just go for it and try with any sort of technique to illustrate your story. That's what I did. I kept connections and we kept talking about the film. So my favorite part is this one because I wanted to really get back to drawing. Because of my architecture background, I had a training on a drafting table. We didn't have computers back then to do AutoCAD and all that, and I wanted to get back to that because it's not a better way to work, but it's just a different way for me to think. And I wanted to use all these intricate mistakes that happen on the drawing board, meaning oblique perspectives, when I was setting, for instance, the establishing shots. So these are all these. It was a total mess, constantly putting layers and layers. But I saw so many different images of the city that eventually I figured out how to put it together later on in the matte paintings. So this is like almost an excuse for me and Theo to work a lot with traditional media and get back to actually making a lot of artwork and sometime in that process remind ourselves that we have to also think of animating that. So that was so you can understand that a lot of times I would just get into drawing. This is like one of the largest renderings. I started with the middle piece. This is like where they take the main character for execution. So this is supposed to be an industrial area with this execution pedestal, industrial chimney, and you can see in the film that when he's approaching, you see that everything around that area is industrial. There's absence of nature. These are components that were these are like the typologies, let's say, for the city, where the workers live in these slum areas. This is his apartment. This is his unit. So it's actually So this is like a drawing that I did for the exterior part, where it belonged to a specific shot that is in the film, and I had to think about the perspective and then how to put it together in that column. That then again, this would go into another background and so forth. So I kept building these pieces together. This is the interior of his apartment. These are other drawings, so I would start with some sketches on how this is where he escapes actually, and then he finds himself in another world. And these are some of the collector probes, spaceship that are seen in the film. So this is the second stage, which is the rendering, graphite rendering, and then showing how I did organize this and paint it, because this was like a stop motion technique, so I had to like animate all the shutter opening and closing. Another of these designs and final render. A lot of my design references come from for this particular film from the 60s, 70s, like a lot of visionary architects, Super Studio, like Peter Cook and all these architects that they did all these interesting visionary drawings that they were never built, and a lot of it was in my mind. I didn't really use a lot of reference imagery. I just wanted to reference that era of this retro-looking design. These are props, so they're organized and painted for me to use in different interiors. So since now I told you about I was working with Theo Michael, and then also with my brother who did the music and sound design. So there was a lot of back and forth with all of us. First of all, giving shape to the script, because it was a loose script from the beginning and I wanted to keep it open. And a lot of the process was how I could get inspiration from my brother, and he would send me these interesting sounds, and so I could imagine the nature in the dream, or the mechanical sound, or the architecture of the city. So we kept exchanging material that way. And at one point, I asked my friend in LA, Blake Young, a colleague from CalArts, if he wanted to help me with animation, and he was really happy to do so. And we started working together, animating the characters, and he started blocking off some of the shots while I was doing the production design. This is like the glass cage I closed myself in for a whole year. Nobody warned me about how long it takes to make an animation, but I thought it was very good for me to experiment with all these techniques. I learned a lot, actually. Those are some I collected some images of these, of the rigged characters, cleaned up and rigged characters that are used in the film. Of course, the puppet animation has limitations, so we wanted to see how can we make certain shots that, as the drawings. So Theo gave me a lot of material from the main character. He kept drawing the main character in different dynamic poses. So then I had to go back and clean it up, make the rig, and animate him. So we had all the poses we needed at the end. This is when he's in an interior shot of a spaceship when he's about to play an instrument. So this is a little bit more elaborate in terms of rigging the fingers, and I needed another drawing, so he had to provide me with a more detailed drawing of the hands. And the animation is quite minimal. We wanted to approach the story visually with all this artwork, but of course to put enough work so it's animated. It's not just still images. So we have all these working together at the end. Other rigs for the characters. Again, this is like another approach of how we animated the scene with no rigs, just like using pieces. And I'm going to go straight to the final. These are the hands, and with a more elasticity on the rigs. Again, these were mechanical movements. They were really tight. The movement was very like I wanted to look like Harryhausen animation, so it has very like it's more terrifying that way. And these are the matte paintings. So this is the final stage that I had time to put all the matte paintings together, meaning I painted all those elements in Photoshop, assembled all the pieces to create all these environments for the backgrounds. That was, I think, my favorite part at the end to put together. Some of the cities. These are city shots. And what I want to say is through all that, I worked with Marni Films. I really thank Fedra vocally and Mina Dreki that they stayed together for this project until the end, and helped me first with a lot of meetings with Fedra to figure out the animatic, and then fix the script, fix the edit for the film, and then Mina at the end of the post-production and finalizing of this film. She was really helping for the film to get out to prepared to the festivals and all that. So overall, it is a personal film. I worked with a very small team. I think it was an escape. It was like a metaphorical escape from my routine. So I created an alter ego character that he escapes from an authoritarian place. And I'm not saying that LA was like something like that. I just wanted to give up my work, my job, and just do something else, and came to Greece. It was great working with people here. So I think that, yeah, I don't have anything else to add.
Well, George, thank you so much for taking us through this work. I want to say that the film is screening in the festival this year. It just screened in the festival in Drama as well. And we're really, really happy to have it here. We're just going to open it up to the crowd for any questions. Marineta, could you help with, just give us a second here.
Thank you. It's not crowd, it's audience.
Audience, sure.
It sounds better than crowd. Crowd sounds, So we are audience. Congrats. It was a great production design presentation. Who is he, though? I miss the characters. I mean, you are talking all the time about someone who is doing this and that in a clearly dystopic environment, but who is he? I mean, half an hour and I don't have a character presentation.
Yeah, sorry, I think I didn't...
Who is where doing what?
Okay.
I mean,
Air is...
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for asking that, actually, because I think I missed that. That was the most... yeah, I should have explained.
I think it came through, but the question was, the audience member is asking George if he could elaborate a little bit more on the background of the character.
Right. Yeah, Air is in this city there are the people are laborers for the hands, for the giant hands, and so he's one of those workers. But because all art expressions, all artistic expressions, art or music is punished by law. But Air is, he's seen in the movie, he is romanticizing with painting. In his dream in the beginning, but also in his real life, he's trying to resist that. So he gets caught, he gets arrested because of in the act of playing music. So that then from that point and on, we follow from his arrest towards his execution. We have a little bit of time to see what happens and how he escapes inside the intricate machine. So he gets in this. So it's a little odyssey of this character, starting from his dream to his resistance and escape of that. And what's behind is, I just don't want to say what happens at the end. It's more of a, yeah.
How old is he?
This is we didn't really think about the age of the character. As you've seen in the drawings, he's like, he's like a humanoid in his mid-age, or, you know, like from 30 to 40, like, there was not specified that much, because all of the characters are a little bit ageless in this city. You don't see, we didn't focus on that. We wanted to have that a little bit still like sculptural.
Which
approach.
year are
Excuse me?
What year are we in the film?
There's the film has no reference for year. Or it's more like a story that exists in its own timelessness. It's not. I didn't think of any of that information, so I wouldn't restrict it to any, as I said, technology.
Great. We have another question in the crowd, in the audience here, in the front. Nancy.
What is the running time of your film, and what is the projected budget?
It's 11 minutes.
How long is it?
It's 11 minutes.
Okay. And what is your proposed budget for the film?
It's a
The proposed budget?
well, the finished budget is a finished film.
Yeah,
Yeah. What was the completed budget?
Oh,
for the film?
20,000 euros.
That's a lot of personal work, George.
It wasn't about the budget, it was about me, it wasn't a self-punishment or anything like that. It was just, but it was an exercise to get away from the screen. I felt healthier every night that I left the studio after being, full of graphite and art materials. I felt healthier. The minute I start animating, I start having like back problems again. But then I took the Cintiq screen and I put it on the drafting table and I start drawing, not sitting, and I think that helps. So maybe the combination that, I don't know, I'm just thinking of that thing, because animators we sit down on a chair and we just lose track of time, and then it's not healthy, I think.
So, George, are you sticking with animation now, or after this?
I think I have to. It's
We think you have
it's
to,
not a
too.
choice anymore. I'm opening a lot of conversations with friends that I have in LA and all over the world in the animation industry, and we talked about the film, and there's a lot of there's a lot of proposals to do work with them and to be in this design. I love the production design part. Like I would do a lot of production design for sure.
Well, thank you so much for being here and for showing us behind the scenes of your process. Good luck with the life of the film in festivals and beyond. And we hope to see you back here with another project soon.
Thank you very much.
Minutes with our next presentation. Thank you. Welcome back for our second presentation today. We have with us the founding member, a founding member and the main team behind DaHouse Studio, Konstantinos Kakaroudas is the founder of DaHouse Studio. He's a Greek director and a visual effects supervisor. He studied visual and communication arts at both Angoulême and Poitiers in France, and he has collaborated as a VFX supervisor and animator in both Greece and France. He has directed 6 short films to date. Maria Mavroidi works as a production and client manager at DaHouse. She has studied at the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering in Patra. Since 2013, she has had the pleasure to follow Konstantinos' love for animation, and together they comprise the dynamic duo behind DaHouse Studios. Maria will get us started, and we'll go from there. Thanks for being here.
Thanks. Hello, everyone. My name is Maria Mavroidi, and I'm a production and client manager at DaHouse Studio. First of all, it's our pleasure to present our studio for the first time at Animasyros 13. I would like to thank all the people of Animasyros for their amazing work, and a special thanks to Mr. Vasilis Karamitsanis, Mrs. Maria Nestopoulou, and Mrs. Marineta Makritikou to a very fruitful cooperation during Animasyros 13 journey. As Yannis told, DaHouse is the vision of Konstantinos Kakaroudas. As he was working for many years as an animator and CG supervisor, he decided to start his own animation and post-production studio that specializes in the development of the moving picture. Together, we attempt to achieve new goals every day. We thrive in demanding situations, and we like working with our team with passion and creativity. Each of us has a part in this scene. My job is to find new clients, new projects, and to assure that everything is in time and on budget. We take creative ideas and we turn it into real projects. The aesthetic is the part that mainly concerns Konstantinos, and I don't like to interfere most of the time, except of sometimes when I have to rein him in. We are mostly known for our post-production services for TV and digital content commercials, but we also do production coordination and management, shooting and VFX supervising on set for short and feature films. Technology intrigues us, and we love to combine it with art. We like to use our motion capture system to make animation easier and believable. We collaborate with developers, I'm an electrical engineer myself, to create web and VR applications, and we always like to learn and try out new technologies. You can see some of our clients. We work in the domestic but also in the international market with companies of food and pharmaceuticals industry. We have collaborated with organizations, universities, municipalities, regions, and of course with individual clients. So for more interesting things,
My bad English, and bonsoir à tous. My name is Konstantinos Kakaroudas, and I'm film director, producer, and visual effects supervisor. I'm also founder and owner of DaHouse studio. Already, from young age, I was interested in animation. I was a little boy when I started to search and discover more and more about this kind of art. The culmination became at the early 90s when I came across the Animation magazine. This was the trigger to get involved with motion captures, with motion pictures, and animation. I left Greece in order to study at the School of Fine Arts in Saint-Étienne, France. Then I switched to the school in Angoulême and I finished my studies in Poitiers. So I became director and producer in animation movies or mixed media films, as it is called, the technique using animation and shooting. After my studies, I worked in many TV productions by making custom animated commercials for France 3, TV5, Arte, and when I returned to Greece, I worked also for post houses. I also made visual effects for many Greek and foreign film productions. Before returning to Greece, I was asked to work in big visual effects studios in Canada, France, USA, but I kindly refused because my love for my country won me over. I'm one of these guys who do not believe in the economic crisis, and during my speech you will understand why. I think that when you want to do something and you believe in that, you can do it. Just do it. Do not forget that the Walt Disney Studios started in 1923 in the rear of a small office occupied by Holly Vermont Realty in Los Angeles, just 6 years before the American financial crash in 1929, and they still survive. So, in 2013, in the middle of a Greek economic crisis, I closed my circle with other production companies and post houses, and I opened my own studio, DaHouse Studio, aka Digital Animation House. Our primary thought is that the partners can and do work remotely thanks to the internet. That is how the idea started. I personally dealt with all aspects of studio design. My main concern was to build an autonomous state-of-the-art production plant that provides all the basic facilities for the entire process of an animation production. In the beginning, the task was difficult since I was trying alone, because, as we all know, the field of animation required a teamwork spirit. There were quite a few times when I felt extremely disappointed and I wanted to close the company since it was hard to find people sharing my vision about animation. I wanted to make animated productions, but instead I did commercial productions. I became another freelancer. Then I realized I had to change my strategy and started saying a lot of no's to the clients. I immersed myself in preparing future projects, which at the end of the day brought me partners who really helped me a lot. Since then, creativity sets the rule. Even in the field of advertising, we choose the projects according to the creation and the challenge they may have. We started writing script ideas and exploring acting techniques and other areas of kinesiology stuff that we animators usually or sometimes, or I don't know how can I say, neglect. We started doing a lot of brainstorming to create as many animations as possible. We explored mixed techniques beyond the traditional animation. We started timidly to introduce a wide range of animation in applications requested by our customers. So we entered the world of virtual reality and started creating content for them. All this taught us to organize better our projects and to learn more and more about production. We created our own method techniques to save time in production. In addition, we are in contact with the University of Thessaly here in Greece in creating new needs in the field of animation. The development of those needs provide us our first motion capture system. We explored the system in projects whose production required a truly tight deadline. So we started to combine human acting with the art of animation. I was extremely interested in motion capture since my postgraduate thesis at the university was animation and digital acting. During this period, I examined the art of acting by exploring little by little how we as human beings express ourselves through simple movements. Between 2017, I decided to share my knowledge with people concerned about cinema. For this reason, I created a film and animation workshop with the help of the municipality of my homeland, Lamia, here in Greece. The goal was to teach the world as simply as I could the art of making a movie by himself or herself. The workshop was attended by 80 students of all ages, and in the period of 8 months, they made 12 films, short films. I felt immensely proud of them, and at the same time, I was running DaHouse. This task was very difficult for an animator because in my real job is director and animator, so it was very difficult to become a teacher. So, having Maria by my side, we decided on something unprecedented and difficult for Greece. In 2018, we said it was time to start and self-finance our own productions. We could not wait for pitching, and so we started our first internal production. The Christmas present started with a screenplay that we wrote together with Petros Koskinas, screenwriter of the well-known short film Ethnophobia. We also directed it together. The Christmas present is a short film about the problem of people in the face of the current economic crisis and how they deal with it. For me and DaHouse, it was really a challenge, both as a narrative form and as a production process. The film is in post-production, and because of COVID-19, we led in 2021, 2022. Now I'm going to show you a teaser of the film. So, in 2019, we started our big next film. The movie is called 1516. The script and direction are mine. The production is difficult as it requires shooting, animation, as well as many visual effects. We did the shooting in June 2019 in difficult conditions under a Greek sun of 38 degrees Celsius. We had an amazing cast of 3 Greek actors. Among them, the well-known actor Yannis Stankoglou, the also well-known actress Giulika Skafida, and Yannis Papaioannou. We also had a film crew of 13 people. We decided to digitally replace the actor's own heads with 3D stylized ones. Our inspiration for this expressive technique was drawn from the ancient Greek theater. The ancient Greeks emphasized on using masks in order to dramatize the play even more. We do not seek realism in the fullest, but we seek for perfectionism in the creation of this kind of artificiality. Following such an unfamiliar expressive method for the spectator, the movie should adopt an elegant narrative rhythm. Our task was difficult because the film is in 4K resolution, so we have more and more difficulties with the rendering. And the film is in post-production, and because of COVID-19, we led also 2021, 2022. Now I'm going to show you for the first time our trailer.
Έλα ρε μωρό μου, αφού το ξέρεις ότι για να μάθω ότι τα λεφτά είναι μέσα, έκανα αγώνα.
Τι να το κάνω. Πήγες και έδωσες 200 ευρώ σε αυτό το μαλάκα τον Νίκο και δεν έχουμε πάνες να αλλάξουμε την μπέμπα.
Ναι, αλλά θα δεις, όλα θα αλλάξουν. Έχε μου λίγο εμπιστοσύνη.
For not tiring you anymore, I would like to tell you that this is the reason why I do not believe in the financial crisis. As I said, I made DaHouse in 2013, having faith in succeeding in the art of animation, and we have been hitting an upward course for 7 years now. DaHouse has been already a well-known Greek studio in the field of animation here in Greece. We are involved in the process of doing 2 short film productions. And furthermore, we work in the television advertising field. At the same time, we are preparing new projects in other areas related to the animation. Our ultimate goal is to create exceptionally good quality animation productions with an impact on the Greek economy by offering new jobs. In closing, I would like to say that DaHouse is a miracle of Greek animation with happy animated years. Do not forget to believe and your dreams will come animated true. Thank you.
Thank you, Konstantina and Maria, for your presentation. We'll open it up to the floor for any questions.
Hello, Konstantina and Maria. Thank you for the presentation. You have right. You are already a well-established animation studio in Greece, so we are proud of your progress. I would like just to ask you, because I know that you've participated in the digital Greece animated pavilion in the MIFA market at Annecy. If you had any feedback from other companies and studios from your participation there?
We are still in touch with some of them. We exchange mails, and we're in a process of communication. We have a lot of to do with the films, but we're still in touch with some companies in France and in other European countries.
And also China.
Yeah, in China too. Okay.
Any more questions?
Hello, congratulations. What is the film about? This film you showed
The
us.
last one.
The
teaser,
last one,
yeah.
1516, or
1516, what is it about?
1516 is a film that I wrote about, okay, the economic crisis, but it speaks also for the miracle. It's a film about a miracle. It's about the Kontos and Nancy, who they're trying to steal a truck, and we have two parallel stories. We have the driver of the truck, and we have Kontos and Nancy. The driver's name is Vangelis, and it's gonna happen something that is gonna change their lives. So I can't tell anymore because the problem is that we didn't finish all the film. Now we have finished, we have accomplished 30% of the film. We think that we hope to finish it in June 2021. The budget is 387,000 euros, and we are hoping to find also sponsors. We have some sponsors, and we try to find more. It's a very difficult.
So it's a thriller.
It's a road movie.
It's a road movie,
With the
crime, drama, and we say also as a mixed technique because it's animation, because it has a lot of facial expressions. We didn't use motion capture. It's step by step. It's pose to pose the step that we use, but every frame we use from the videos of the actors, we combine it with our also animation technique.
Yes.
We have one more question.
Hello, I just want to ask, how many people do they work in-house in your studio? 'Cause you know what's...
The question was about how many people are working in-house in DaHouse.
In the peak, we can
Well, our name is DaHouse, Digital Animation House. So we work with many freelancers remotely.
In the bases, we are 4.
We're 4 to 5 people in the bases, but when we have demanding projects, we work with freelancers and we come 7 to 10 people.
The peak.
How do you balance between doing commercial work and doing your own projects that you have to finance yourselves?
That is very difficult question.
This is my role to say you have to work for the commercials. They have a specific time to be done. So we manage time, we manage budget, and we try to find some time during the week to work for our films. Sometimes it's easy to do it, sometimes
we work a lot.
We work a lot.
We love animation and we work a lot. Sometimes I work 16 hours per day. So for me, changing techniques, or because I change techniques, sometimes I use cut animation, sometimes I use 3D animation. For me, it's normal.
And that's why we have freelancers to help us.
Yes, to help us.
Because very demanding times.
I think that now the market in Greece is changing, and we have a lot of new animators, new how can I say, new students that come and become professional. So we think that, and we hope that our studio is gonna grow up, okay. And for telling you the truth, now we are talking about a big production, big feature film. So we need more people.
I'm sure there's a lot of people that would love that. So thank
We
you
hope.
so much for being here with us.
Thank you.
That was great information. We will be back with our next presentation. Welcome back to our next presentation in this second session of Animasyros 13 Agora. With us right now is Antoine Liétout. He has worked within the production team of Fidelité Films for years. He's worked as a score producer for a variety of TV shows such as The Mantis and The Bonfire of Destiny. He's worked as a CFO for Folivari, where he also handled line production of the mixed media feature My Family and the Wolf. He is currently partner at both LIDAC Paris and Germany, and he will share with us today his insights in that complicated of relationships on any creative project between a producer and a director. Thanks for being here with us.
Thank you for having me. Just a quick words before I start. That this presentation is mostly, for addresses people, directors that are looking for producers, or that are looking for a first experience with a producer. I'll try to explain what to me makes a good, healthy director-producer relationship. And I'll be taking example throughout the presentation, animated project that we have now that's called Mom is Spring Rain, and which is directed by an upcoming director called Hugo de Faucompré. So just a few words about who we are at LIDAC. So I'm Antoine Liétout, and my partner on the picture is Ivan Zuber. We have two production companies. The first one is in Berlin, Germany, and we do mainly live action over there. And the second one is in France, in Paris, and we do mainly animation over here. Our current project in Germany is a feature film called Clara Sola, which is Swedish, Costa Rican, Belgian, German co-production, so pretty, a big mix of different cultures, and that's actually something that's at the core of what we do. We love international co-productions because of the variety that it brings, and in France, our current project right now is an animated TV special called Mom is Spring Rain, Maman pleut des cordes, in French. It's a quite traditional film because it has hand-painted background and 2D animation, And it's very special because it deals with the topic of depression, but through an adventurous story filled with poetry and a lot of humor. So we're just in the process of doing the compositing, and so I have images that are just fresh out of the oven that I wanted to show you. You're the first eyes to see them, so I'm pretty happy with this. Oh, there's no sound.
Manger la tarte aux oignons. Elle a mangé la tarte, oui c'est bon. Elle a mangé la tarte aux oignons. Elle a mangé la tarte, oui c'est bon.
So yeah, as an introduction, I'll tell you a little bit about how we met with Hugo. So Hugo was, we were looking for a storyboard artist for a short film we were producing in 2016. And Hugo would come to the office with his sketchbook with him, and at some point he forgot it at the office, and so we asked if it was okay to take a look at it. And he said yes, so we looked into it, and we really loved the designs. It was very varied and had a lot of personality. So after he finished working on the storyboard, we told him that we would be very happy to work on another project, one of his projects later on. And so a little time passed, and at some point, French channel France Télévisions issued a call for projects for TV specials. And Hugo just called us back and told us that he had written a draft and was wondering if we would want to see it. And so we did, and we obviously loved the project, and we told him that we would definitely work together, and this is how the adventure begins. So I guess the first advice for me to say that whenever you're working at different positions in production companies for animators, for example, if you're animator, background artist, whatever, take the time to just hand over your personal works if you can to the producer if you feel like you are at ease with them, because it might turn into a former project. Now I'm going to divide the presentation between sort of the two main aspects of the producer's input into a project, which are the financial input and the artistic input. Generally speaking, I divide the way production companies in two categories. You can have rather big and strong established companies which can go a little faster with the development because sometimes they will have cash money to invest in the development, but you will sometimes get lost in a bigger lineup with a little less follow-up on your own project. And then you can work with smaller indie companies, which will be much longer generally, because you're going to have to go out for a financial, funding even for the development phase, which can take a while. But then you'll have a real follow-up on your project and real feedback from the producer, which can be interesting, but it really comes down to your choice as when you're choosing a producer to work with. The producer's first job obviously is to build a strong financing plan around your project, which takes a lot of time and dedication, because as a producer I tend to believe that we need to go after any financing we can get and not stop at the more obvious ones. In animation this means many, because at least in France, but there is very varied sources of financing. I just, to give you a glimpse, this is the financing plan for Mama Spring Rain. So it's in French, but you can see the number of lines that we have, and all of those are a lot of days of work preparing applications, reformulating texts so that they would fit the expectations of each partner. Meeting people at festivals, advocating for the projects. So yeah, I guess you really have to put the work into it. And yet, for example, for Mummy Spring Rain, we stopped at France. We could have went out for international co-productions, which would have meant additional financing, but we decided not to. Because it was already a big step for Hugo to step on to go from short films to a 26 minutes film, which is a short film, but it's already a big adventure and long adventure. And so we took the decision, even if it meant a little less money, that we would remain in France for that one. So that's sort of an introduction to the idea that very often the financial choices that you make are, very intertwined with the artistic choices you'll have to make later. Yes. Now about the artistic input, I guess there is a different inputs depending on the different stages of the project. Obviously, development, production, and then also for the distribution phase, and generally speaking, for building the career with an author-director. So during the development phase, I guess the first step is obviously to give artistic feedback. That means actively participating in giving ideas and options for the writing, reading each version of the script, sitting down and giving feedback. Also trying to push the director to search every detail of his story and not skip some parts that are a little too hard to go through. And I think there's an interesting balance. It's an interesting position as a producer to give feedback because you're very close to the project, so close to the story, and you can give educated feedback on the project, and yet you have fresher eyes than the author, so it's a nice position to be in. Then, obviously, on the writing phase, it's important for a producer to be able to find co-writers if necessary. For Mummy Spring Rain, we did introduce Hugo to Lison d'Andrea, who co-wrote the film with him. And that's because, quite obviously, we needed to have a women's point of view on the project. Mummy Spring Rain is a story about 3 generations of women, and we needed to have someone to co-write who was a woman. And I think this can apply to every type of project that you make. I mean, you may be as an author talking about topics that you know, but also including elements that you know a little less. And it's always interesting to have someone that experienced those elements in their flesh to bring something to the story. In Hugo's case, obviously, the mother-daughter relationship he never had, so it was interesting for him to have someone to give him input on that. Then the second thing we do, and that's in between financial input and artistic input, obviously, is to determine a target budget. I put it in the artistic input because it sort of gives a frame for the overall ambition that you can have for a project. If you're going to do a short film, if you want to be able to do what you want to do, you need to, with the sort of money you can finance around a short film, you need to be, to really be clear about what you can or cannot do on a project, and the producer will give you advice on that. For Mama Spring Rain, the format was pretty clear because, it was an open discussion between us, but we felt like 26 minutes were a nice next project for Hugo, who was coming from shorts, that he wouldn't be ready for a longer project, either a series or a feature. But 26 special was just the right step for him. So we did ask him a few things, such as making sure that the project has characteristics that would allow him to get financed. Specifically, we, for example, asked him to switch the story, which was happening during the summer, and to switch it to winter because TV specials are mainly bought for Christmas holidays. So we turned it into a Christmas specials, which in the end Hugo prefers a lot, so he's very happy that we did this change. But anyway, this is something that we asked him to do, and this was a small compromise to make sure that just the project is not only beautiful, but has a chance of getting financed and getting made in the end. And the other role that we have during the development phase as a producer is to be a moral support to the author-director. Because very often, especially when it's a first ambitious project, the project is sort of the whole life for the author, and obviously it's, at the beginning you're going to get a few refusals most of the time, and they can be quite traumatizing for an author. And as a producer, you have many projects, so you know that even if you have no's in the first place, they may turn into yeses later on, and that project can still get made. For Mummy Spring Rain, we had a lot of no's before he had a big breakthrough at the Cartoon Forum. We worked really hard with Ivan and with Hugo to have a rather creative presentation, which drew a lot of attention. and we switched from those to yeses, and so yeah, when the author feels low, I guess on the development stage, it's the producer's job to keep the bigger picture in mind and keep the hope. During the production phase, I'd say that one of the biggest jobs for the producer is to make sure that the director understands the stakes underlying in the budget. I mean that when a producer sets quotas for animation, for example, or a maximum of unique backgrounds or something, it's generally, I mean, it should be to protect the author from having to do too much on their own, which is very often, not to say always, what the author will, the director will try and advocate for at some point during the pre-production. So if, as a producer, you let the director be a little too optimistic about what they can take on their own, I think you face three types of threats. The first one, which is terrible, is to have to shut down production at some point because you've tried to do too much and then you ended up with not enough money and you have to bluntly stop and try to get additional financing, which is always a super hard thing to do, to have like additional financing in the second phase. The second threat is to have the director finish their film on their own with extended hours and too many days, and this can also be a pretty traumatizing experience. And I have friends who did this for their films and ended up not wanting to do films anymore for quite a while before they started again. And then the third threat is to have to make artistically painful choices a little too hard into the production, and that's a very bad thing because it's going to it's going to show on the film that some scenes are very good and other ones are much less interesting visually, because those choices were made late in the project because of a lack of money. So I'd say keep in mind that if there is a trustful relationship with your producer, generally, I mean, when they set this sort of boundaries for the whole project, it's ultimately for the project's own good and for the director's own good. Yeah, so then the producer should also be there for the distribution phase, along with sales agents and the distributor to organize the festival run, for example. I guess producers will very often ask you as a director to be very present to those events, and I think it's very important to go to every promotional event, talks, presentations, Q&As, etc. Just because it's very interesting to interact with an audience, also because, as you know, once the film is done, it belongs to the audience. And also because you're going to be building an audience for later projects, which is also a very important thing. And then one thing that's very important to us at Light Icon, and I think it should be for everybody, is to try to think the collaboration on the long term, because a producer can help you efficiently build your career. He can help you make your choices for the next projects that are going to, help you go step by step towards, for example, the feature or a big series, or just generally building your career. There is a discussion that awaits us with Hugo once he finishes Mama Spring Rain. Right now he's in a tunnel, so we're not being too pushy, but we have an idea to develop 2 other TV specials from this universe, because there's a really interesting idea that we could dig. And this would be a way for him to compile those 3 26 specials into a feature film that we could show in theaters. And I think this would be a very good opportunity for someone who's still young in the industry to be able to have, one feature film on his list, and that would give him great arguments to go for bigger projects later. So this is the kind of advice that we're going to give him, and the sort of discussions that we're going to have with him once it's done and has an open mind. And obviously, we will never force him into it if he doesn't want to. I mean, so yeah, to conclude, I just sort of listed out the elements that should help you choose a producer and find a producer that you can trust. The first one would be to ask your friends, and that's rather obvious, but it's the first thing you should do, because most of them will have experiences with some other producers, good or bad, and the world travels, and may give you a good sense of who you want to try and even meet. That also works for producers when they pass on the words about artists to see if they would be a good fit with them. take a close look at the producer's previous works, and I don't mean this so that the previous works would be exactly the same sort of things that you do, although, I mean, there is the question of a certain expertise on 2D and 3 or whatever technique, which can be a criteria, but generally speaking, to have like a similarity in taste and sensibility, because when at some point you'll have to make some compromise on a project, or find alternative ideas together. If you already have a certain similar sensibility, the choices that the producer may have will be sort of the same as you, and also they'll have a more open ear for your eventual vetos on some ideas. Obviously, before you start working together, I'd say take the time to sit down and talk for quite a while. I mean, it's a small thing, but I'm very observative of the way people behave when I meet them for the first time for a potential project. It can be very small things, silly things like how they talk to the waiter, or how generally how they interact with the people around them, because this is going to make a difference in the end in the way they work with other people and behave in a team, and I think it can be pretty much the same with when you're meeting a producer for the first time. I'd say, and this is more when you're already working with the producers, but you should be able to fight for your ideas in the good sense of the way, because I think out of the discussions and sometimes even the little frictions that there can be artistically between a director and a producer, I think the greatest ideas arise, and so yeah, you should be in a relationship where you can afford being quite fightful for your ideas. Obviously, this has a big connection with the level of trust that you can have with the producer. So feeling that you can trust someone humanly is definitely something completely central in a project, because then you know that when your producer asks you to make certain choices, he asks them with for the good of the project. I missed one. Oh, I did miss one. I missed be honest and open. Sorry. Yeah, and that was about, if you have fears or issues about your project, I think it's important to tell them and to be really honest and not wait for the last minute. And that's also an idea of when you're already working with someone, but I think it's very important to be honest about what you think of how the collaboration is going, because sometimes it's better to stop at an early development stage because you feel that you're not on the same page, instead of moving forward and getting stuck with a project you don't have the same views on. And that's silly too, but I think having fun is also very important, because there's going to be setbacks and there's going to be hard moments throughout a production, and if you can try to have as much fun as you can, then I think it will take you pretty far. That's it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Antoine, for being here. We need your experience, and I will try to have some answers to my questions concerning the development of films. First of all, I would like to know if in your company you develop a slate of projects, many projects at a time, or project by project, and then if you need to design a different production pipeline for every project.
Time also, because it would be a little crazy to think that all of them are going to get made, obviously, which is sad, but it's true. So we do have various projects at the same time, and so you meant the pipeline for making the film, or the pipeline for the financing plan?
Normally, you use the development, you develop also a pipeline for producing the film. So you need to know what creative problems must be solved, and also what technical problems must be solved. And
Yes.
how do you proceed? Do you have a fixed production pipeline that every project has to fit inside, or every project needs his...
No, we're never going to try and have like a recipe for making projects. There's never going to be a sort of a universal pipeline that we try to impose on every project that we choose. I think it's always, every film is different. That's the beauty, and what's also hard in this industry is that it's an industry of prototypes, obviously. So, but I also think that's, an interesting, fascinating part of the job. So yeah, we always create new production pipelines for each project, and for the development phase, it depends on the size of the project. For this one, for example, we had to present something to the Cartoon Forum, so we did a trailer for it, and so it was a nice opportunity to try things and to see what were going to be the hard aspects of the pipeline, especially because it's hand painted backgrounds, and you have issues with having a coherent image in the end. So yeah, this is how we did it.
Sorry. Go ahead. There's one more question.
Thank you for a well-thought-out, planned speaking thing. I was wondering, you were mentioning taking this short filmmaker to do a feature soon, and do you have a game plan for sort of ensuring that a short-form storyteller can keep the story arc going for a feature? Because that's sort of a downfall with a lot of people.
So the idea is not to try and change this film into a longer film. The idea, to tell you the truth, is to try, because it's about three generations: the grandmother, the mother, the daughter, and this film is about the daughter. And a lot of it happens in one place, which is the grandmother's house. And so the idea would be to travel through time and have the childhood of the mother and the grandmother. Also because it deals with depression, and there's a sort of heredity sometimes in those issues. So there's an interesting way of dealing with it, and I think it really makes sense to build like three stories that would work together as a longer film. So that's the whole plan. But I agree with you that generally trying to turn something short into something longer can be a little tricky. So yeah, but what I mean is that since we did a lot of research, and it's been a pretty tough getting to precising the technique for the backgrounds, for example, and having the team learn how to do it and stuff. I guess not using it for a longer version would be a bit of a shame. It shouldn't be. If we hadn't had a creative idea that really made sense for a longer version, we wouldn't have gone for it, because the technical aspect should never be like the first reason why you're doing anything. But since we did have this idea, we thought it would be interesting to pursue. But again, that's my idea for now, so I have to see what the director has to say about it.
In the process as a producer, is there a magic moment where interest in a project becomes commitment in a project? Like the moment where you decide that I'm taking this on as producer, is there where is it for you, that magic moment where you committed to actually taking on the project?
Well, a lot of times it happens at pitching sessions. No, but that's true. A lot of the projects we found it at festivals, at pitching sessions at festivals. So it really changed something. And I think because it could turn out to be a problem. We don't have like a big plan of development. We really go with projects that we have, that we really feel that we love and feel close to, especially with the topics that they deal with. So I guess it's pretty immediate, when we see a project that we really feel, both Ivan and I, are something that moves us, we're gonna just go for it. If we have a room with it for it, And that's one of the good things together with Ivan, is that usually we're on the same page on those sort of things. So when we see pitches, for example, and we get out of the room and more often than not, we'll have the same view on which one really touched us. So, and then I think the getting close and falling in love with the project is also something that happens all throughout the production. I mean, whenever you get into another phase, there's always something new to discover, some sort of success in finding technical solutions or artistic solutions for something, and you grew more and more in love with the project as long as you're making it, I guess.
Great. Antoine, there's one more question.
Just one came to me from the Cartoon Forum experience. You will go there with your director.
Yes.
So why you need to have the director with you during the pitching? With you, with the producer. The director and the producer have to be together in the pitching, or just the producer is enough?
One of the two should be at the pitch is the director, because they will speak about the project in the best way, because, it will come from the heart. So I guess it's the duo director-producer is interesting because when you're presenting a project, even if a director is presenting a great project but there's no real sense for the audience of how it can get made, it can be a little confusing or scary or stuff. So I guess the duo producer-director is quite efficient for a pitching session. But I think director is definitely the first person to put on the list to go and present the film.
Great. Antoine, one more time, thank you for
you.
being here with us.
I'm very happy.
And thanks everyone for following this second session of the Agora presentations at Animasyros 13. We will be with you tomorrow at the same time, 5 o'clock sharp, Athens time. Have a great night.